Hey everybody, and thank you so much for joining me today here on Blind Whiskey Reviews, the most honest reviews on YouTube. As always, don't forget, hit that subscribe button down below and hit the bell notification so that way you know every time I'm putting out a new video and every time I'm starting a new live stream. Today, I have a brand new segment I want to bring you guys, and it's going to be called The Last Pour, and it's just that. I'm going to be sharing my last pour of each of these bottles with you today, just giving you my thoughts on how the bottle was from top to bottom, and this will actually be our first segment that's not reviewing whiskey blind. So it'll be a little bit different than what we normally do, but it's going to be something kind of similar to what Roy with Aquavitae does with his recycled reviews to a degree. So hopefully you enjoy those, and hopefully you enjoy this. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, a work in progress. So let's get started on our first whiskey. All right, everybody, we're going to start with the Clyde May straight bourbon whiskey, bottled at 92 proof. This is a relatively inexpensive pour. With all these whiskeys, I'm going to link the whiskeys up here in the corner. So if you want to check out the original review I did of the whiskey, you can do that. Let's go ahead and make our last pour here. Oh, it's a hefty one. So let's get a quick note here. Still it's nice and round right now. Flavors were mild when it started. It was a good whiskey, but nothing great. I don't think, and even tasting it now, I don't think it's done incredibly well with getting some age on it. The flavors are kind of muddled. They don't stand out very well. I think maybe the oxygen, it's, oxidized quite a bit. This bottle has been open for a little under 9 months. And I slowly kind of progressed through it over these 9 months. And it's okay whiskey. The price on this has gone up since I've originally bought this bottle. I got this bottle somewhere in the mid $20 range, which is a reasonable price for something like this, but it's gone up. Lately I've seen it for somewhere in like the low to mid 30s, and at that price, I just don't think it's an amazing value. It's a decent whiskey. It's perfectly drinkable. It's nothing that's going to blow your mind. It's nothing that I really care to sip on neat. I will say there was a period in the whiskey somewhere down the middle where I thought it had improved a little bit. The flavors had become a little more bold. It got a little fruitier. Now it's down to here. I think it's been too long in the bottle. It's been open too long. The flavors have muddled themselves. The profile isn't quite as balanced as it could be. So, while it's a decent whiskey and it's perfectly drinkable, I probably won't be going back to buy another one of these. All right, now on to Henry McKenna. If you're not familiar with Henry McKenna, again, I'll link their original review up here. This is a bottled and bond 10-year-old whiskey that is distilled by Heaven Hill. This particular bottle, if you watched my original review, was probably one of my least favorite bottles I've had of Henry McKenna. I'm normally a huge Henry McKenna fan. Almost every one of these bottles you get is great. The value is great at give or take a couple dollars, a $30 price point at 100 proof and 10 years old. I mean, the stats are perfect. By a big distillery, that's always a plus. The big boys definitely know what they're doing when they're making whiskey. This particular bottle was not amazing for me. And if you're not familiar with Henry McKenna is a single barrel whiskey, which means you're going to get variation from bottle to bottle. And with Henry McKenna, I will say, over the years, I've gotten vast amounts of variation between the bottles, but they've always just been really, really good. And the variations, while they're not making the whiskey consistent, they were always good whiskeys, and they always tasted great, had a great flavor profile, even though they were different. I think I mentioned in the first review, the very first bottle of Henry McKenna I ever had, I distinctly remember, had this very eggnog-like character, and it was amazing. It was delicious. This particular bottle, when I first opened it, wasn't great, and as I've gone through it, I don't know why I put the bottle down here, but as I went through it, it wasn't great most of the way. I think it started to improve somewhere about mid-bottle. Got a little bit better, opened up a little bit. Some of the flavors came forward, and there was a strange character on this one that died down a touch from what it originally was. But let's get a taste of it real quick. Right now it's smelling great. We got light fruits, a little bit of oak, a little bit of the brown sugar and caramel. Just a beautiful bourbon nose. Yeah, see, it still has this strange, almost, and I'll say at this point, it's gotten even worse, more pronounced. It has a strange Band-Aid-like character. Now, again, I've had several bottles of Henry McKenna in my time drinking whiskey. I have never had one that tastes like this. So don't think that this is what Henry McKenna is, because it certainly is not. But you got to keep in mind, when you get a single barrel, There's the chance that you're going to get a barrel that's not the profile you like, or maybe get a barrel that's a little bit off. And I kind of feel like this one's a little bit off. This whiskey over time has, like I said, somewhere about here, it got a little bit better, and definitely down here, it's gotten worse from even when we started. So it's perfectly drinkable right now, but if this is what Henry McKenna tasted like every time, I wouldn't be going back to it. But again, don't let that sway you on Henry McKenna. Henry McKenna is a great whiskey that I would always recommend people buy because it's a great value, a good whiskey, and most of the time, it's worth that gamble. All right, we're moving on to our last whiskey in the last pour segment. This is the Old Forester 1920. Again, original review linked up here. I thoroughly enjoyed this whiskey. I think it is a great pour, a great value. While they don't have an age statement on it, it's obviously distilled by Old Forester. It is bottled at 115 proof, and it is about $50 to $55 depending where you find it. So at a high proof like that, from a big distillery, I wish there was an age statement, but regardless of that, age statements don't make the whiskey taste good necessarily, and this whiskey tastes great. It's been a fantastic whiskey. From the top to the bottom, I've enjoyed every last drop of it, and I will be happy to be buying another bottle of Old Forester 1920 in the future. For this one, you've just got such big dark fruits, caramel, brown sugar. There's a little bit of butterscotch in there for me right now, which I don't recall picking up before. Just a beautiful bourbon nose, deep characters, bold, rich flavors. Let's do a taste here. Yeah, and you get the same on the palate. Big, rich, bold, beautiful flavors that linger on the palate, taste great. This bottle has not really changed much from the top to bottom, so you don't have to rush through it. This bottle has been open for almost 11 months, so it's been open quite a while. It's had a lot of airtime, and I don't think it changed a ton. All the developments, if any, were minor and didn't do any detriment to the whiskey. Any changes that happened to the whiskey maybe didn't make it necessarily better or worse. They just changed the whiskey slightly, but it's a great whiskey, a great pour. Don't need to rush through it. Enjoy every last drop of it. And again, I would be happy to buy another Old Forester 1920 anytime. All right, everybody, we just finished our very first, the last pour segment on this channel. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give me your thoughts down below. Again, I do this stuff for you guys, so I'd love to hear what your opinion and what we can do to change or improve this. But I really just wanted to give you my last thoughts when we got down to the bottom of these bottles that we've reviewed on this channel. This one we actually reviewed very early on. This was in one of the first bottles I reviewed, I think, very early on. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you can take this information and use it for you to help make some decisions on your purchasing and how you drink your whiskey. So again, leave a comment down below. If you want to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, you can do that at blind_reviews. You can send me an email at blindwhiskeyreviews@gmail.com. And until next time, guys, cheers.